It's the sheer density of this 2025 recap that gets me. If you look at where we were just 24 months ago, the leap isn't just incremental, it's architectural. Google's 2025 year in review identifies 8 specific breakthroughs, but if you look at the historical trajectory, we've essentially crossed the Rubicon from generative AI into reasoning AI.
Right. And it's not just about models that can write a catchy poem anymore. I mean, remember when the big wow factor was just getting an LLM to not hallucinate your grocery list? Now, looking at this report, the focus is so much more physical. It's like the AI has finally stepped out of the chat box and started actually interacting with the atoms in our world, not just the bits.
Exactly. And the first breakthrough they highlight, the evolution of multimodal reasoning, is the foundation for that. In 2023-2024 era, multimodal meant the model could see an image and describe it. In 2025, Google's research shows models that can perform cross-temporal reasoning. They aren't just looking at a frame, they're understanding sequence, cause, and effect over long durations. It's the difference between seeing a photo of a broken vase and understanding the physics of the entire 30-second window where the cat knocked it over.
I love that analogy because it leads right into the second breakthrough they mentioned, physical embodiment and robotics. I remember reading about the RT series, the robotics transformers, years ago. But the 2025 data shows they've hit this general purpose milestone. We're talking about robots in lab settings that can take a verbal instruction like, clean up the spill, but don't use a scratchy sponge on the granite, and they actually understand the material properties of the sponge.
The technical term they're using is semantic physical mapping. It's fascinating because historically, robotics was governed by rigid, hand-coded heuristics. You had to program every joint movement. Now, by leveraging these massive vision language action models, the AI has a common sense about the physical world. It knows that a glass bottle is fragile without being told. That's a massive jump from the Go-playing AI of a decade ago.
It's the common sense part that hits home for me. But let's talk about the third one, because this is where it gets a little more sci-fi. The breakthroughs in scientific discovery, specifically regarding protein folding and beyond. We all know AlphaFold, but the 2025 report talks about AlphaFold Next, which isn't just predicting structures, but predicting interactions within entire cellular environments.
The history of this is actually quite poetic. We went from the Human Genome Project taking 13 years to sequence a genome to AlphaFold solving the protein folding problem. And now, in 2025, Google's research is focusing on biosimulations. They are effectively creating a digital twin of a biological cell. This allows researchers to test how a new drug molecule might interact with a specific protein in a noisy environment, full of other chemicals, before they ever touch a petri dish. It's cutting the R&D cycle for life-saving medicine by, 80%?
It's incredible. Imagine being a researcher and having a what-if machine that actually understands biology. But then you take that same simulation logic and apply it to the fourth breakthrough, climate and weather forecasting.
Oh, the GraphCast evolution. This is a perfect example of Google's obsession with efficiency. Traditional weather models require these massive, energy-hungry supercomputers to run fluid dynamics equations for days. The 2025 breakthrough involves neural weather models that can run on a fraction of the power and provide localized, hyper-accurate forecasts up to 3 weeks out.
3 weeks? I can't even get a reliable forecast for tomorrow afternoon. But seriously, think about the humanitarian side of that. If you're a farmer in a region prone to flash flooding or an emergency responder, having a 3-week lead time that is actually accurate, that's not just a tech update, that's a life-saving infrastructure shift.
And it ties into the fifth breakthrough, which is sustainable computing. Google has been under fire, like all big tech, for the massive energy consumption of these AI data centers. The 2025 research highlights liquid neural architectures and on-device distillation. Basically, they figured out how to make these models much, much smaller without losing the intelligence. We're seeing models with the power of the original Gemini running locally on a smartphone using less battery than a standard video call.
Which is a huge deal for privacy too. If my AI assistant is thinking on my phone and not in some cloud server in Iowa, I'm much more likely to trust it with my personal data. Which leads us to the sixth breakthrough, personalized medical diagnostics. This one feels a bit more sensitive, doesn't it?
It's a minefield, historically speaking. We've had AI health checkers for years, but they were glorified flowcharts. The 2025 breakthrough Google is highlighting is Med Multimodal. It's an AI that can look at your MRI, cross-reference it with your genetic history, and this is the key. Read the nuance in a doctor's handwritten notes from 5 years ago. It's about synthesis. It's not replacing the doctor. It's providing a second opinion that has read every medical journal ever published.
I think that's the relatable part. It's like having a specialist in your pocket who actually remembers your history. But moving from the body to the brain of our digital lives, the seventh breakthrough is about coding and software engineering. They're calling it autonomous repository management.
This is a massive shift for the industry. We moved from co-pilot systems that suggest the next line of code to what Google is now describing as agentic coders. These are AI systems that can be given a goal, like migrate this entire legacy database to a new framework and optimize for latency. And the AI actually plans the architecture, writes the code, tests it, and fixes its own bugs.
That's a bit terrifying for the junior developers out there, isn't it?
It's a paradigm shift for sure, but Google's research suggests it's not about replacing programmers, it's about removing the toil. It's allowing human engineers to focus on the intent and the system design rather than the syntax. It's like moving from being the person who lays the bricks to being the architect who designs the skyscraper.
I suppose that's the natural progression. And that brings us to the final eighth breakthrough, which I think is the most human of them all: human-AI collaboration and agentic workflows. This is the idea that the AI isn't just a tool you use, but a partner you collaborate with.
This is where Google's research into long context windows really pays off. In 2025, they've stabilized models that can remember and reason across millions of tokens of information. This means you could have a collaborative project with an AI that spans an entire year, and it remembers the context of a decision you made 6 months ago. It understands your preferences, your style, and the why behind your work.
It's the agent dream. I tell it, hey, I'm planning a 3-city book tour, and it doesn't just book flights. It looks at my previous tours, sees which hotels I actually liked, remembers that I prefer morning flights but not too early, and coordinates with the venues without me having to prompt every single step.
And historically, we've always dreamed of this kind of digital butler. But the 2025 breakthrough is the reliability of it. The research shows a 95% reduction in agent drift, where the AI gets confused during multi-step tasks. They've essentially given the AI a short-term memory and a long-term strategy module that work in tandem.
Looking at all 8 of these breakthroughs together, it really feels like 2025 was the year Google stopped trying to make AI look smart and started making it be useful in the real, messy, physical world. It's less about the magic trick of a chatbot and more about the utility of a global nervous system.
That's a great way to put it, the global nervous system. When you connect the scientific discovery to the climate modeling, to the robotics, to the personalized medicine, you're looking at a technological infrastructure that is finally starting to match the complexity of the problems we're trying to solve. It's a far cry from the first versions of Google Search, which were just indexing the web. Now they're essentially trying to index and understand reality itself.
It makes you wonder what the 2030 recap is going to look like. If this is where we are in 2025, the human-AI boundary is only going to get blurrier, but in a way that feels helpful. Like, finally, we have the tools to handle the data overload we've been drowning in for decades.
It's the transition from the information age to the intelligence age. And according to this report, Google isn't just participating in it, they're trying to build the floorboards for the whole thing. The historical significance of 2025 might just be that it was the year the AI summer turned into a permanent season of utility.
A permanent season. I like that. No more hype cycles, just stuff that works. Whether it's your doctor, your weather app, or your robot vacuum that finally knows not to eat the rug. It's a brave new world, but at least it's a more efficient one.